I moved to a street corner which is one street over from the previous corner, because at this corner you have a better example of the two levels of electrical power network. At the top here, when you see three power lines like this is because you've got the 600 volt three-phase network. This comes from the local transformer station, and generally industrial clients will use 600 volt three-phase because it's useful for powering large electrical motors. Also large stores may use it for their air conditioning systems, but in a residential area you don't use the 600 volt three-phase current. So it's stepped down using these transformers to the 120 240 volt, which is the next set of three cables. Although there's three cables, this is, I believe, a one-phase current. Just three cables because I think you can supply about a dozen houses for each of these cables. And then below it we've got the cable and telephone. At the beginning of the video I mentioned the two most obvious networks. You've got the road network and the sidewalk networks. They may be obvious, but they're not as simple as you may think to design. In particular the road, the street. Because you'll notice streets are never flat. They may seem flat if you look at it carefully. Sorry, if you don't look at it carefully. But if you want your street to drain, you need to have slopes so that they slope towards these catch basins. So you'll notice the street will have a slight crown so that the water will drain towards the gutters. And they'll also have longitudinal slopes. The slope from the crown is usually about 2%, and the longitudinal slope is usually about 0.5%. And the slope towards the street from the terrain is typically 1 or 2%. 2% is a number you see quite often. So when you have to design a street, you have to be careful that you have enough slopes so that everything drains towards your catch basins, and that you don't have any areas that don't drain properly. And in fact, when you do municipal engineering, often the most complicated calculations are the drainage calculations, because you're dealing with statistical probabilities of rainfall intensities. You have to try to estimate what the rates of discharge, the amount of runoff will be, and you have to be able to space your catch basins and design your slopes and design all the diameters of your sewers accordingly. So, this was your quick lesson in how to identify municipal infrastructure. We looked at 10 networks, the road network. We did discuss the sidewalk network. There's 4 underground networks, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, water mains, and natural gas. Fortunately, you can't see too many signs of natural gas, which is why you always have to verify with local authorities before you start digging. And we looked at 4 aerial networks: street lighting, electrical distribution, telephone, and cable. And when we looked at the electrical distribution, we noticed that there's an hierarchy of higher voltage and lower voltage distribution networks. I hope you find this video interesting. I know it could be better, and I hope to do more, and that as I gain experience, they'll improve.